welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we are going to be taking a closer look at the Chanel Beiges Collection. And I did a first impressions video. I have worn these items every day since then, except for one day. And we're gonna go over these. I have formulated my final thoughts, and I also have a few additional comparisons that people have requested. So we're gonna start off with the bronzer. This is the $3.95 Soleil Tan Deep Bronze. And yeah, you know, when this came out, I wasn't sure if I would get this because obviously it's meant for deeper skin tones than what I have. But what drew me to this is actually the undertones here. So this is going to be a little bit cooler in tone than the original shade, which is, in my opinion, pretty yellow. You can see that this still has golden tones, so it's still warm tone, but it's not quite as yellow as the original. So I thought this one would work better for me. And I'm very happy I tried it. I really like it. When I purchased it, I thought I would use it more as a contour shade. It's not cool enough for that. It's definitely warm and should be used as a bronzer. I really like using just a very small amount, kind of dust it on, you know, where you would put a bronzer essentially. So I think for me, the undertones work really well. So formula wise, I did not purchase the original shade. I have, you know, tried it a couple times, like, you know, swatched and so forth. But formula wise, it's creamy, it's easy to work with. You can see how well it blends out and how lightly you can get it. So I think it's a really nice product. Now, as for this product, it's 1 ounce or 30 grams. It's made in France and it has a 1-year shelf life. Now, for comparisons, I don't have a lot of cream bronzers. Actually, I don't have any, but I do have the 2 Burberry Essential Glow palettes, and I did swatch this one. This is the Fair to Light shade. You know, each of these palettes has 1 cream product. So this is the Fair to Light, which actually works super well for me. So that's why I thought, you know, that this one would work for me, because this one also shears out very easily. But this one I can use as a contour, whereas the Chanel is too golden for that. But, you know, both fantastic. So as for blending out, the Chanel's easier to blend out. It's a little bit more emollient feeling versus the Burberry, which is a little bit of a stiffer cream. Still super easy to shear out and blend out, obviously, or it wouldn't work for my skin tone. And then this is the 02 palette from Burberry. So this is their contour shade. And this is the medium to dark. And you can see that this one is warmer in tone than the one in Fair. And actually, it even looks a little lighter, right? This one doesn't work quite as well for me, but I can still use it. But you can see it has more of the warmer tones. So again, this is gonna work better, in my opinion, as a bronzer for me, compared to this one, which works as contour, and the Chanel, which works as a bronzer. So out of the 3 of these, the Chanel is gonna be the warmest, followed by the Burberry in the 02 palette, and then the 01. Just a couple of regular powder bronzers. This is the Tom Ford in Terra. You can see how that compares in tone. The Tom Ford has a little bit more red in it than the blended out version here of the Chanel. This is Chantecaille Goa. I'm going to put another swatch of the Chanel right here so you can take a look at that again. So here's the Chanel. Just kind of buff that out a little. So you can see the undertones are still going to be a little bit cooler with the Chanel. This is the Dior Forever bronzer in shade 4. And the Gucci in shade 1 Fair. So just so you can kind of see how the tones vary. Again, this one is Chanel and this one is Chanel. So from the top, we have the Chanel. Then we have Burberry Essentials Glow in 1 and in 2. And then we have Tom Ford Terra, Chantecaille Goa, Chanel again, and then the Dior bronzer in 4 and Gucci in 01 Fair. And then I also picked up 2 of the 4 Rouge Coco Flashes that are in this collection. all of them are limited edition. Everything is limited edition in this Les Beige collection except for the bronzer. The bronzer is now part of the permanent line, but the Coco Flashes and the eyeshadow palettes are all limited edition. And I picked up the two lightest shades. So I have 158 Dawn, and I actually did I did a ton of comparisons of these in my first impressions video. I don't actually have any additional shades to swatch for Dawn. So this is number 158 Dawn. Actually, I take that back. We're gonna swatch this. This is Lily Caress from Guerlain. You can see it's gonna be a lot lighter. It's also a little bit cooler in tone. And this is one of the new Guerlain Kiss Kiss Shine Bloom lipsticks. It's number 109. Moving on, and what's on my lips, we have 162 Sunbeam. And you can see a little bit of sparkle in here. Just so you can see up close, Dawn also has a tiny bit of sparkle. Can you see that? But it's not something that translates. You don't really see sparkle on the hand at all. It's very, very minimal. You have to look closely to find it. Whereas Sunbeam, you've got a little bit more. You can actually see the sparkle here in the bullet. So we're gonna put Sunbeam here. Just, there you go. And you can see that this is going to be more of a peachy shade. So it's kind of like a bright peach with a touch of rose in it. And by the way, all of the Rouge Coco Flashes are 3 grams. They're made in France and they have an 18-month shelf life. So I had a request to compare that to the Chantecaille. This is one of the lip cheeks in Peach Blossom. And this came out in the spring collection. So here's Peach Blossom right here. You can see that it's a bit more of an opaque formula, and there is it's a little bit brighter. So when you put it next to Sunbeam, you can see Sunbeam actually has a little bit more of a nude tone to it than the Peach Blossom, but they are fairly similar shades. And then this is the Lisa Eldridge lip gloss in Go Lightly. I'm just gonna put this down here. You can see that it's gonna be a lot brighter, and it has a little bit more of like a vibrant orange undertone to it compared to these, like orange and pink mixed together, almost like a neon effect. And then the last one I have here is one of the new Burberry Kisses lipsticks. This is Rebellious Rose. You can see it's going to be a lot more pink than Sunbeam. Looking at these, you can actually see the Go Lightly gloss and the Rebellious Rose are fairly close. Rebellious Rose is going to be more pink. This one, it has a little bit more peachy orange in it than Rebellious Rose, but they're kind of similar too. And then I picked up one of the 2 eyeshadow palettes. So again, these are limited edition. They came out with 2 of the Les Beige eyeshadow palettes. I have Intense. They also came out with Tender, which has more like pinky rosy shades. So this is Intense, and yes, you can get intense looks from it. You can also get lighter looks. This is probably medium intensity for what you can get from this palette. And these have an 18-month shelf life. Again, they are made in France, and these are 4.5 grams or 0.16 ounces. So I swatched this and compared it to the Blurry Green quad. These are the first 3. In my first impressions video, and they're actually pretty close. So if you have Blurry Green, you don't need to get Intense. The big difference is, again, we have 5 shades here with the Intense palette, and the big difference is we have 5 shades here with the Intense palette versus 4 in the Blurry Green. And overall, this skews a little bit lighter in shade tones than the Blurry Green, which is going to be a little bit deeper, but overall the shades are very similar. So if you were to like delete this one here, you know, actually maybe add something a little bit more intense, that's pretty similar. So we're just going to put Blurry Green up one more time just so you can kind of see that together. And these are the shades in Blurry Green. So you can see how close some of these are. These are fairly similar here. You've got these deeper shades. You don't have this really intense deep green in the Intense palette. And then this shade here is cooler in tone than the one in the Intense palette as well. But overall, the color stories are pretty similar. And then by request, this is the Suku 06 quad. This is part of their new collection of eyeshadows, the Signature Color Eyes, but these are permanent. This is a permanent one. They've been releasing a lot of limited edition ones recently. So here is 06 compared with the Chanel Intense. And let me swatch a few of those together. So the only two shades that are really going to be similar in the Suku are going to be the brown and the green. So that's what I have here. And let's put the green here. And I did that backwards. So we got the brown here and the green here. And let me swatch the brown closer to that one as well. So here we'll put the brown right in between here. You can see it's going to be a little bit softer. It's not, it's a different formula, and it's one that's like sheer but buildable. And the Chanel's going to be more pigmented straight off the bat. You can see that the tone is going to be slightly different. There's a little bit more golden red in the Chanel compared to the Suku. Now, as for the green, you can see that the green has more gray in it in the Suku compared to the Intense palette here. And then another palette that I think is going to be very, very close is the Charlotte Tilbury Green Lights or Rebel Quad. And I had that, I think I gave it to a friend. It was one that was in my pile to give to a friend of mine. And I must have already passed that on because I can't find it here anymore. But color-wise, it's very similar. If you'd like to see swatches of that, I do have that swatched in the video that I have on Blurry Green. So I will leave that linked down below in the description box if you're interested in that. So now I'm going to share with you a quick get ready with me on how I created this look. And this is kind of my favorite way to use these products. And then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts on everything. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Intense palette. And I'm using the Chikuhodu. This is the F07. It's like a soft, flexible, like pencil brush style. And I'm going to go into the deepest shade here. Just going to get a little bit of this on the tip. And I'm going to put this in the inner corner, or I mean the outer corner. And I'm just kind of stretching what's there into the crease, just very, very lightly. So I'm actually going to get just a tiny bit more just on the tip of the brush and just kind of brush this along the lash line here. Right, next I'm taking the F06 and I'm going to go into this shade here at the bottom. You can see this is like a small shader style. It's not super flexible. And I'm just going to tap this and I'm just going to put this right over this outer corner part. Just going to about the midway. Okay, so I think I went a little bit further on the other eye, so I'm just going to feather that a little bit. And then I'm going to go into the lightest shade, same brush, but I wiped it off. And I'm just going to kind of add this in. And I'm going over the edges here. Okay, next I'm just taking the Surratt. This is the medium smoky eye brush. And I'm just going to kind of brush that lightly. So this brush is made to work in this particular motion to kind of give you kind of like more of a soft watercolor blend. So you can see that the colors are still distinct, but they have blended together very transitionally. And for the lower lash line, I'm going to go into this shade here, and I'm using this F07 brush. Just going to take a dab of the lightest shade here for the inner corner. Then for the upper lash line, I'm taking the Chanel Stylo Yeux. Oh, see, good thing they're coming out with new ones. This is number 951, Khaki Intense. It was a limited edition shade like a year or two ago. So I'm just going to use this along the upper lash line. Let me just show you what that looks like. This is the shade of it. So it really goes well with this particular palette because it's brown with that green tint to it. So these are the eyes. I'm going to add some mascara and I'll see you in a second. Next, we're going to move on to the bronzer, and this is the new deep shade. So this is $3.95 Soleil Tan Deep Bronze, and we're going to go in with a fluffier brush. This is the Esom V49. So I'm just going to get some pigment on the brush, and I'm going to apply it high up on my cheekbones, just more towards the back. You can see the fluffy brush gives me just a very soft wash of color. This can definitely be intensified using something firmer, gives you a lot more pigment as well. But with my coloring, I love the undertones of this, but I do need a light hand or it's obviously going to be too dark for me. You can see this side is going to be deeper. Just even that out a little. And I'm just going to put some of this around the perimeter. Let's get you back a bit so you can see the full effect. Okay, so this is the bronzer done very lightly. You can see that it just gives me a little accent. It helps to kind of lift the cheekbone a little bit. I'm going to intensify it just a touch more. So now I have a little bit more of that bronze look. All right, so this is my skin with the bronzer there, and then I'm gonna add just a little bit of number 99 Rose Petal. This is one of the newer formulations. I'm wiping my brush off that I use. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this right in front, more on the apples. So I'm using the same brush, just gonna get a little bit here, tap some off on my hand, and just gonna kind of blend it backwards with the bronzer. So I wanted to go in with a really light hand, and I chose this blush in particular because it has a little bit more, well, I'll put it here, that peachy pink vibe to it. Doesn't swatch super well, you know, but I feel like blushes never look the same in a swatch as they do on the skin. So you can see it gives me just a little touch and it blends in nicely with the bronzer towards the back. And then for highlight, I'm going in with the Metal Peach. This is one of my favorites. I'm going to use the Rephr 20 brush. I'm going to get some on here. This is like a firmly pressed highlight. And so, you know, depending what brush you use, you're not going to pick up a ton of product at once. So it's great for more of that subtle glow. And I really like it. So you can see the difference. But yeah, it doesn't look like sparkling. So I've been adding just a little bit of highlight kind of to the apple of my cheek. So this whole area kind of gets a little bit of extra radiance. And I've been enjoying that recently. I'm just going to dust whatever's left kind of like up here. And then I'm going to take the Chanel lip liner in 162 Nude Run, and I'm just going to softly go over the line of my lips. So I'm not going to fill in my lips. I'm going to take my finger there and just kind of soften those edges. That's also just sort of lightening the shade a little bit as well. And then I'm going to take a number 162 Sunbeam in the Rouge Coco Flash formula, apply this. So this is Sunbeam. This is my final look then. And I think overall, everything came out well. I mean, the best thing about this collection is it is great for every day and it's easy to use. You don't even have to go in with the additional blush or the highlight, just the bronzer, the eyeshadow, and a Coco Flash. I mean, honestly, I've been wearing it like that for a few days now. So yeah, you know, you can make this a little bit more glam if you'd like, or you can really dial it down and just be easy and light. I hope that was helpful. So for the bronzer, I really like this bronzer. I can see myself using this pretty much all the time during the summer. You know, I probably won't use it too much if I'm using more of a powdered face, but anytime I'm looking for like a dewy, glowy, bronzy look, this is going to be a go-to product. I really like it. I don't use bronzer a ton. There are certain ones though that I do use regularly, like the Gucci in 01 and now this, and they're very different from each other, but they both give a very beautiful effect. So I really like those, and I can definitely say that this is going to go up top in my list of favorite bronzers. And personally, the way I applied it today in the Get Ready With Me, where I just put the bronzer basically from here back and then add a pop of blush here. That's how I have been preferring to kind of play with that or use that. And then sometimes if I'm going for like a more bronzed golden look, then I actually just bring it out a little bit further to about here. And I don't actually put any blush on that. So I think it's a very versatile product. I really like it. And I think for fair skin tones, it works. I think it's definitely going to work through medium. It's supposed to work for deep skin tones. I don't know for sure, having not tried that, but I'm very happy with it. I'm happy with the blendability of it. And even the golden undertones, they're not too yellow. So I think it's a great product. I'm very happy I picked that one up. As for the Rouge Coco Flashes. So again, I have Dawn and Sunbeam, which is this one here in the middle. And I really like both of them. So I have to say Dawn is my favorite between them. Dawn is just one of those easy shades that you can just either top to kind of tone down a lipstick. So just put it on top of something that's a little bit too bright. And that'll kind of just add a little bit of a nude tint to it. Then you also have, just a great everyday bare lip, kind of like barely there makeup look. And I really like that. So it is similar to Easy and Boy. It kind of fits in between there. They're all different. And I do have comparisons of that in the first impressions video. I'll leave that link down below if you're interested in that. So if I had to pick between Dawn and Sunbeam, Dawn is my number one, but I do really like Sunbeam. And I have to say, it is fairly close to the Chantecaille Peach Blossom. I don't reach for Peach Blossom too much because it is a little bit more opaque on my lips. And the sheerness of Sunbeam makes it just a little bit easier for me to wear every day. So I really like it. So overall, I wouldn't hesitate to purchase either of them again, but if I wanted to narrow it down, Dawn would be my number one. And then as for the eyeshadow palette, I'm very happy I picked it up. I do have Blurry Green and they are very similar. The biggest difference for me is that when you look at Blurry Green overall, it's dark. You have a much deeper palette. And then when you look at Intense, you have 3 out of the 5 shades are going to be light medium tones. And that really kind of helps lighten the look, makes it a little bit more everyday. It's super easy to use. I think it's really great. And you can see even the darker shades are not quite as dark as the ones in the Blurry Green quad. So if you already have Blurry Green or the Charlotte Tilbury Rebel quad or Green Lights or whatever you want to call that one, I don't think that you need Intense. However, I'm very happy to have Intense because if you do have one of those palettes, but you want something a little bit lighter, something a little bit easier to make a light look on a daily basis, this is a great option for it. Is it necessary? No, but it is nice to kind of have those lighter options all together in one palette. So I'm very happy that I picked it up. And the quality of the shadows in this palette are up to par with other Chanel shadows. So there's definitely no problem with pigmentation or blending out or how long it lasts on the eyes. They do last all day without a primer for me. I have worn them with a primer as well that will extend the length depending on what kind of primer you use and so forth. But I think it's a great palette and I really like it. I think the palette is prettier in person than it looked in the online swatches because I was really on the fence about it. But yeah, in person, it does not disappoint. In summation, the entire Les Beiges collection that I purchased, I'm happy with every single item that I picked up this time. I really like it. I think the quality is there for all of these items. I like the color choices that are in here and how well everything works together. And I think these are all very neutral items that if you just wanted to pick up one thing, it should work really well in pretty much anybody's collection, just because it is so neutral that you can use this to accompany other things or on its own, and it should be able to fit in very well with whatever products you'd like to use it with. So they're kind of like those go-to easy everyday things. If you're looking for something to travel with and things like that, this is a good option for that, because again, you've got a variety of looks that you can do with that. Now, Rouge Coco Flashes, they're a sheer formula. They have pigmentation, but they're still sheer and they're not super long wearing. So just keep that in mind. They have a little bit more of that lip oil kind of texture to them. And, you know, if you're looking for something a little bit more long wearing, definitely pair it with a lip liner or something like that. And I think that sums up everything. So overall, the Chanel Les Beiges collection this year, I really, really like it. And I think it's a fantastic collection. So if you're interested in any of these items, again, everything's limited edition except for the bronzer. So just keep that in mind with, I'm not trying to rush anybody or anything like that, but I don't know how long these things will be available, because we know that Chanel's availability on some of these limited edition items has gone very quickly recently, because they haven't had quite as much stock as they would in a typical year. So just keep that in mind and don't wait too long, but definitely take your time and make sure it's something that you really want. And keep in mind, if you do miss out on anything in this collection and you are kind of feeling sad about that, don't. You know, there are so many dupes. I mean, they're not exact dupes, but you've got so many options that are similar for the eyeshadow, for the Rouge Coco Flashes, and so forth. You don't have to have these particular items to get the same look. So just something to keep in mind. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.